Implausible Nature now has dice. That's right, you can get these awesome D6s made by our partner Baron of Dice. These custom dice have the Implausible Nature logo on the 6 side and also come with square corners, which means they will roll more evenly than rounded corner dice. Head on over to baronofdice.com and use discount code IN40K to get a discount on your order and support us at the same time. Check out his full collection of dice for all your gaming needs with the link down in the description. Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we are answering a question that was posed on our Discord, and it's actually a really good question, and it deals with our stratagem use. When is it better to use Crusader's Wrath, the one that gives you an extra AP in combat, versus Fervent Acclamation, giving you either sustained hits or critical hits, or excuse me, lethal hits, right? So this is a really good question because there may be times when you have opportunity to use these, and maybe you only have one CP that you want to spend on it. Obviously, if you can do both, both is better, right? But if you can't, and you only have one CP to spend on something like this, which one do you pick? So we did a bunch of math for you. We tried to keep it as simple as possible because we want to make sure that this is not specific to any particular unit, but we kind of had 3 units in mind here, and that's Primaris Crusaders, Primaris Sword Brethren, and then Aggressors or Terminators, right? Units with, Power Fists. So basically it boils down to lots of Chainswords, lots of Power Swords or Power Weapons, and Power Fists, right? So we wanted to make sure that it was easy, right? And then we picked some common targets. And for those targets, we went with a unit with a tough 3 and 4 up save, tough 4 and a 3 up save, tough 5 and a 3 up save, and then basically tough 9 or higher, basically where everything will wound on 5s or 6s with a 3 up save, right? These are a lot of common um, uh, profiles that we see. We weren't worried about how many guys we were killing because wounds are very variable. So instead, we're just looking at unsaved wounds because that's the whole point, right? Unsaved wounds. How many unsaved wounds can we do in a single, or with these buffs, right? So if we first take a look at our chainswords here, you will see that it's pretty interesting. Obviously, lethal into something that you're wounding on 5s or 6s is a really huge increase because they're only, strength 4, right? So that is definitely an obvious increase right there, especially into something that you're going to wound on 6s. It's a massive buff for you. Uh, if you are looking at, though, anything that you're wounding on 4s or better, you're just as good with Wrath, right? And then sustained, is pretty much the same if you're wounding on 3s, and a little bit worse or a lot worse, in the other categories. So I think with chainswords, we're either going to be picking lethal if we're hitting into a harder target, trying to punch up, right? Or if we're hitting into a target that's equal or lower strength, we're probably going to go with Wrath because it's going to give us a little bit better boost. Bob, any thoughts on chainswords?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a pretty obvious little take here, whether or not you're going to be doing lethal or wrath on this one. So if it's going to be a higher toughness, you're going to be going with that lethal attack. With the fervent acclamation, just remember that you got to have a character with that. That's going to be the key there to be able to use that fervent acclamation. And then wrath, if you either don't have a character with them, or if you are just going against a Space Marine body or maybe an Imperial Guard body, Eldar, Wrath will be significantly better on a lot of those attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to note here, some of you may be wondering, are we going to talk about whether you have rerolls or not? And the answer is no. And the reason for that is because uh, when um, when I did the math on these, the differences in oath, how much, what percentage, difference, it was within a percent or two as far as the damage output, oath or not. Um, Now, oath obviously has a higher damage output. That's not in question. What we're saying is the difference between lethal with oath or lethal or sustained with oath. You know, those two comparing to each other over the baseline or without is roughly exactly the same. In other words, the oath benefits all of these buffs equally, is what we're trying to say. So let's
Yep.
take a look at the power swords. And It's definitely a much tighter race with the power weapons here. Obviously, when you're wounding on threes, uh, auto wounding is not quite as good as getting more hits or better AP to just punch straight through some of this armor, right? Pretty even spread. Surprisingly, here, if you're hitting into tough five with a 3-up save, you are exactly 24% on all three of them over the baseline. I thought that was surprising. I was not expecting that. And I think the combination of wounding on fours and also having AP2 played into that. Um, what do you think here, Bob? What's our going to be our go-tos?
Honestly, I think you can see the math here. Against a wider variety of opponents, sustained is a better take with power weapons. Now,
Hmm.
with that in mind, the units that we have power weapons on them are going to be that we use are going to be typically sword brethren and the occasional power weapon in the Primaris Crusader squad. But those units also have alternative weapons that you are going to be having to factor in. So if you're going to be taking that and using it on one of those units, I probably would still go with Crusader's Wrath over Sustained, simply because you're going to have that additional AP that is going to be worthwhile on those other weaponry as well, that we're not accounting for in the math on this one. But it also is important to note that you see there on the Wrath going against that toughness 3 4-up save. It is significantly worse than Sustained is, because you're losing that extra AP basically, because you're going from
Yeah,
a 6-up save to a nothing, which is not very much of a difference. So
yeah.
in that fringe case,
Typically,
if
and
you
we
know that you're
can,
going against Elder Bodies or Imperial Guards, then
yeah. Typically, we can see that when you have less AP, adding AP is more significant of a buff than when you already have a fair amount of AP, right?
yep.
And that kind of leads us into the power fist here, where we can see that lethal when you have higher strength is not nearly as useful. It's very clearly the worst option for 90% of your things. And again, you're only hitting up when you're punching into tough 9 or higher. Here is the only time that you're really going to want to use lethal. Um, and if you're running like, let's say, a Crusader squad or something like that, where you've got a bunch of chain swords and you're punching, trying to hit something that's like tough 9, tough 10, something like that, and you got a bunch of chain swords and those power fists in there, then lethal is a good option because it helps them both significantly. But if you've just got power fists, maybe you are aggressors or terminators, and of both varieties, because thunderhammers and power fists are pretty close to the same as far as they some slight differences, but um, the sustained once again is pretty much the universal winner here, doing as good or better than Wrath. And again, because more hits means more chances to wound and more possibly dead enemy models. Um, but um, but
Yep.
yeah, Wrath is not too far behind here.
Yeah, I agree. It's you're going to see the biggest difference on the smaller bodies. Otherwise, they seem to be neck and neck AP and sustained across the widest variety.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's
again,
because of the high strength, I
it's
think.
going to
You know.
be yep. Again, it's like overall, it's going to be kind of a matchup. Is like, what are the weapons in that unit? Or do you have a bunch of different types on your Primaris Sword Brethren? Maybe Wrath is going to be a little bit better, but maybe not because as you can see here, power weapons and the power fists they're very similar to like a Thunderhammer. So basically, what you're going to see is Wrath is good overall in general against most opponents all the time. If you're not sure and you don't want to do the quick math or you don't have the ability to pull up this video real fast, Wrath is the way to go. But sustained hits is very close by, and in a lot of cases will be just as good or better, especially against the smaller bodies. Lethal, obviously, you're going
Yeah.
to be going against the higher toughness.
Yep. And something else, obviously, that's a consideration too is, in order to use Fervent, you have to, number one, have a leader, as you pointed out earlier, but also number two, you can't be in a transport. So, sometimes the game will dictate what your uh, sort of what your choice is by default, right? Oh, I've got, Halbert and friends are in a transport. I'm gonna have to use Wrath because I don't have a choice, right? Or oh, this Crusader squad doesn't have a leader,
Yep.
so I don't have a choice, right? But when you do have a choice, then use this guide to hopefully take a look there and see what is going to be the best option for you. Um, and I think there's some interesting data here, but overall, it's pretty easy to determine, based on your weapon types and what sort of thing you're swinging into. You'll be able to probably make even like a quick reference out of this, and hopefully this will help you in your games to make the correct decision when you have that choice and slay the enemies of the emperor more efficiently. So yeah, any final thoughts, Bob?
On this, yeah, it's you just want to make sure that you're, you know, adjusting to the weapons that you have, like I mentioned. And I just want to kind of point out or thank everyone for watching all of our videos and shorts that Alex has been doing, his crusade in 100 days. We're going to be getting deep into detachments now, deep into detachments. So I think we're going to start up with the most popular one going out there right now is going to be Ironstorm. We're scripting it right now, and then we'll get that video out to you soon, and followed by probably Firestorm. I think is the second most popular. And yeah, you'll start doing some deep dives, synergies with those. See what our fellow players are running and why it's successful, and get that out to you before all of our points potentially change. Hopefully, it'll be just slight changes for that though, um, just simply because we're right on that borderline. But
Yep.
yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming in. We're also going to be doing our Know Your Enemy. That's going to also be kind of a new theme for us. So we can record some of those videos to kind of give you an idea of what's out there, how to deal with them. So you're not going to be really getting the gotcha. So we're going to try and help you get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, something else to note that you might be wondering about these numbers here. Well, what if I have Helbrecht, or if I can crit on fives. When am I going to go fishing for those critical hits? Obviously that's a factor too. When should you do those things? But we've got a video upcoming where we're going to tell you exactly when you should go fishing for those critical hits. So stay tuned for that as well. So yeah, so that's all we got for you today, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to make sure you click all the YouTube algorithm buttons, to make the engine work. Check out our Discord. We've got a lot of really great content every day there. Um, Follow along, please. Check out my shorts with, as Bob said, the hobby challenge. We are marching almost halfway point at this point through that. And check out our Patreon. We've got a lot of really awesome stuff with our Patreon, including exclusive Patreon dice and a bunch of other really cool things, Discord roles, all that kind of stuff as well. So until next time, keep on crusading.